Hello everybody and welcome back to NV Simsports for the GT Sprint Series Americas, powered by Triple Stint. We are here for Sebring round 2 of the championship. SimSwag Technologies, Triple Stint Coach David Calaby, SimGrid and Heather's Jewelry Hut and Rogue Energy all support the GT Sprint Series, and the broadcast is by HyPrix Studios. Welcome everybody to this round. My name is Jarvis Coyd. I will be your play-by-play commentator here today. Pushing all the buttons is Julia Marquez, and Eitan Benesra is our executive producer here at HyPrix Studios. And we are here at Sebring in Florida, a mix of asphalt and concrete, the oldest standing American racetrack that's still currently open. December 31st, 1950 was when it's open. Grade 2 in the FIA, and 3.7 miles with 17 turns. And yes, it is round 2 of our 6-race calendar. With the next couple of weeks, we have Hockenheimring, Road America Detroit, and Daytona, but 70 minutes of Sebring await us first. And the race weather looks to be 83 degrees Fahrenheit, with no chance of rain and light winds, 8 to 10 miles per hour, so very stable conditions for all the drivers to race in. So the current conditions for qualifying look to be very similar, 83 degrees Fahrenheit with 67% humidity, cloudy, and very, very light winds, so only 4 miles per hour. The Drivers' Championship in GT3 Pro, Alberto Alvarez with 51 points, Dallas Barron with 36 points, only 15 points behind, Javier Sierra with 30, Andrew Lau with 24, and the rest with 0 points. For GT3 Silver, it's Brick Lawson who won in Le Mans, ahead of Travis Allen with 36 points, Devin Pascal with 30, John Cannon with 24, Virgilio Garcia with 20, Joshua D'Arlucio 16, Stephen Shea with 12, Zachary Manuel, Eduardo Padilla, Scott Farrell round off the top 10. And for GT3 AM, it's Eric Brosius who won in Le Mans, with Lucien Breedlove in second, Trey Mango in third, Diego Rodriguez in fourth, Wayne Gardner in fifth, and Benjamin Burrows, who's here today, didn't score any points. And if you are looking for high quality gloves for questionable quality sim racers, go to triplestint.com to look at the apparel, sim racing gloves, just to keep your hands not from sweating. triplestint.com. And if you're looking for sim racing pedals and or sim racing socks, quite the combination, go to SimSwag Technology, simswagtech.com. But finally, you may say, we can finally see the cars out on track, getting ready for qualifying. And at the moment, it is Matt Mosby after 8.5 minutes who leads the line with a 2 minute dot 6, with Barron and Alvarez almost 3 tenths back on the leaderboard at the moment. Odom, part of GT3 Silver, in fourth place in the Ford Mustang. Andrew Lau in fifth. Sierra now climbs to sixth. Mosby coming to the end of his lap time, as we're seeing Alberto Alvarez through the first corner. Barron, 7 thousandths away from Matt Mosby. Virgilio Garcia, 20th. Next one to come across line, and Garcia doesn't improve position. Fleming up into sixth place. Then Lucien Breedlove comes across line to go to 11th. Joseph Kronk, currently 27, will say his first lap time. Kronk coming through Sunset, a GT3 amateur driver driving the Porsche. Hasn't set a fast lap just yet. This will be one, as Kronk will come across the line. And he's now 2.2 seconds away from Burrows. Salvador Orellana, currently 17th place for GT3 Silver, propels himself up into 10th place. Then Travis Allen comes across the line, currently 11th in overall standings. Then Drew Cooper. Does he clean up a couple of places? No. Gutierrez across the line doesn't improve. Rick Lawson on a slow lap. He'll go again. We have Vladislav Aletoits in the amateur class coming across the line in 24th overall currently. And he propels himself up into 21st. Brosius, it stays in 14th. Joshua D'Arlucio in the Ford Mustang goes up into 12th place. Andrew Lau with the fastest Sector 1 and a net positive if you add all the sectors up close together. Can Andrew Lau go up into the front row? And he does go into the second row. He's only 4 tenths away from the first row. Zachary Manuel coming across the line for GT3 Silver doesn't improve. Javi Sierra coming across the line propels himself up ahead of Fleming. Barron takes provisional pole position away from Mosby. Alvarez goes up into third ahead of Andrew Lau. Stephen Shade, currently 18th, not improving. Trey Mango, not improving either. Virgilio Garcia and Lucien Breedlove, next ones to come across the line. And Breedlove, where does he go? No improvements there. Salvador Orellana, next one to come across the line. Then Travis Allen. Salvador Orellana. We're watching now Allen come across the Sunset corner now. Salvador Orellana stays in 10th place. Allen, does he get ahead of Orellana? Allen does get ahead of Orellana. Then Drew Cooper propels himself up into second in GT3 Silver, 7th overall. Vladislav Aletoits currently in 21st. Lucien Breedlove currently first place in GT3 AM. What can Aletoits do? Aletoits across the line. And it's not an improvement. Brosius in 16th place, I mean. Joshua D'Arlucio in 14th doesn't improve. Then it's Benjamin Burrows, the last car to finish qualifying. Burrows needs at least 1.1 seconds to get ahead of Sturley. And Burrows across the line. Doesn't improve in position, but does get a bit closer to Sturley. So it will be Barron ahead of Mosby, then Alvarez and Lau. That's your top four in GT3 Pro. Odom with GT3 Silver pole ahead of Sierra. Cooper, second place in GT3 Silver. And in GT3 AM, it's Breedlove ahead of, I believe it is, D'Arlucio in GT3 AM. Every driver has now finished qualifying, with the Hurricane on pole position ahead of Mosby. And make sure to check out nvsimsports.com to have a look at the current series running. We have sprint series such as this one that's we're currently broadcasting. Endurance series and special events will wait for you. Standings are also on that website. And make sure to check out the socials on Instagram, X, and Facebook at MV Simsports for all of those platforms. Sebring is one of those tracks which okay, and sponsors are SimSwag Technologies, Triple Stint, Coach Dave Academy, SimGrid, Heaven's Jewelry Hut, and Rogue Energy. Thank you for supporting MV Simsports and the GT Sprint series. And Sebring is one of those racetracks which is extremely flat, as mentioned. Opened in 1950, it has its origins, as with most olden racetracks, with World War II runways. It used to be a World War II airfield, repurposed into a wonderful racetrack. Bumpy concrete exists through 1017 at sunset, all the way through the start finish straight into turn 1. And then after turn 1, through all the way around to turn 17, it's all asphalt. So a mix there, an interesting mix, but it makes it for an incredibly bumpy racetrack between those sections. It's an iconic part of Sebring, even though the elevation there may not be as much as some drivers may want. It's a great challenge and a great place for overtaking. As we move to the race. And this is our qualifying results and subsequently the grid as well. Dallas Barron ahead of Matt Mosby. Alberto Alvarez and Andrew Lau will start on the second row. Kamari Odom, pole in GT3 Silver ahead of Javi Sierra. Drew Cooper lines up behind Kamari Odom. Jamie Fleming, Brick Lawson, Zachary Manuel round off your top 10. Then 11th place is Travis Allen ahead of Salvador Orellana, Devin Pascoe, Joshua D'Arlucio, Lucien Breedlove, and Eric Brosius, who are lining up 15th and 16th in GT3 Am. Lucien Breedlove with the pole position in GT3 Am. Eduardo Padilla, Stephen Shade, Jimmy Evans, Virgilio Garcia round off 20th. And below that, it's Diego Vazza Aletoitz, Diego Gutierrez, Trey Mango, Wayne Gardner, Brett Sturley, Benjamin Burrows, and Joseph Kronk rounds off your grid. And the drivers having a little bit of a warm-up with 5 minutes break in between. So drivers getting some time to get a little bit accustomed to the racetrack out here today. As we're watching a gearbox of a car going by, as well as a GT3 Mustang, who is following one of the Ferraris as well. This is Devin Pascoe, who gets a little bit trigger happy with the throttle, manages to keep it straight. But yeah, drivers going out. And well, in the warm-up, we didn't see, especially in Europe, too many drivers come out for this warm-up. It seems like quite a fair have. There's quite, if you look at the track map, quite a train of cars in this warm-up session. Of course, if drivers do set times within the span of 5 minutes, don't take into account, it probably doesn't mean much. We're watching Alberto Alvarez, our current championship leader in GT3 Pro. He took the Le Mans win with convincing fashion. Today, he qualifies in 3rd place behind Barron and Mosby. And we'll see how Alberto Alvarez does. Can he keep this championship lead? Probably, as long as he finishes. And this is Alberto Alvarez heading into turn 1. Before one of the recent updates, that pit wall into turn 1 was a bit shorter than it is now. It's now longer, and you've got to take into account that for the brand new quote-unquote braking zone / driving line. Exiting out of turn 5 into turn 6, completely flat out through Gurney Bend. And one of the main overtaking zones will be the hairpin of turn 7. This is where we see perhaps maybe a few dive bombs, a few good overtakes, and also opportunities to go side by side the exit as they exit out towards Fangio Curve. And if you're still side by side or looking for another overtake, Cunningham Corner awaits you. We've seen a lot of momentary switchback side by side action as they exit onto Collier Curve and into Tower. This is a lovely section for side by side racing. Tower awaits you, exiting out onto this short straight into the bends in the final bit of this lap. And try to get the best exits possible. You can see the cars taking track limits into Liberty. iRacing doesn't take into account that track limits before the Le Mans curve as they exit out onto the Ullman Straight and down towards the final overtaking zone on one lap, Sunset. You can go for some brave dive bombs, or you could hang back, get the best exits possible for another move into turn 1. As Alberto Alvarez chooses to come into the pits. Lucien Breedlove, our GT3 pole sitter for round 2. He'll be looking to make a great impression. He's stuck in the lower half of GT3 Silver for the start of this race. He'll look to try to get through cleanly, as most of the drivers will. We saw in GT Sprint Series Europe a couple of hours ago that turn 1 was a massive bit of contention. A few incidents definitely happened in GT Sprint Series Europe on lap 1, so drivers will be looking to try to get by cleanly at the start of this race. It's a 70 minutes race. All the drivers have open setups, 1 fast repair, and the fuel tanks are limited to 70% max. It should be a simple one-stop. But if you push a little bit too hard or a bit too trigger happy on the throttle, you might risk endangering yourself for a 2-stop. But that's very unlikely, as the warm-up has now finished. And drivers are beginning to grid up for the start of this race. 27 cars out here today, headlined by the pace car and also a Huracan of Baron. And drivers starting to grid up. A few missing cars left on the grid, but we'll soon see them join. 27 GT3s will be making their way as the lights will start to flash now, very, very soon, as I believe Mosby is stuck in the pits. He hasn't started this race, Mosby, and that means he relegates himself from a front row start into the pit lane. You can see the Corvette in the pit box. That means that he'll be coming out at the end of turn 1, perhaps in 27th and last. Mosby in the pits. So that means Baron will be alone in the front row. Andrew Lau will start 2nd place. Alvarez in 3rd. Basically, everyone has pushed up 1 because Mosby hasn't started, with the exemption of Baron, who's on pole position. That's... I don't know if that was on purpose or a bit of a mistake. I don't really know. I mean, Mosby was starting in the 2nd row. That's usually a great place to start. But yeah, it will be Mosby who will be starting in the pit lane. Everyone trying to heat up their tires for the start of this race. Sometimes cold tires, a bit of understeer can cause your car and yourself to go out wide into the grass, which, especially for a first lap, isn't what you want or desire. As we watch the cars make their way through turn 7, we should see a few side-by-side action at this particular corner, especially Xing out here. There's a lots of places around this racetrack where you can stick side by side, a great place for a few moves here and there too. And the weather is looking like to be 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temperature is 132, which means that it's super hot and the tires will be screaming for help. 132 degrees Fahrenheit is unbelievably hot for the 85 degrees air temperature we have. That is quite perplexing. Regardless, low mile per hour wind, so that won't affect too much, and it's partly cloudy, so vision is perfectly fine. The only concern for all of these drivers is the tires and the track temperature. So maybe that's the reason why we... Oh, that is a Corvette spinning round, and there's contact in the formation lap between a Corvette and McLaren. That has not gone too well. I believe that's the Corvette of Evans, who was spun out the McLaren of... I'm not too sure. The McLaren, who now rejoins back onto the racetrack. Who was that? So it's Gardner, Burrows, the black and blue McLaren, Shade. So the black and blue McLaren is Shade, and he'll be lamenting that. The Corvette is now missing its front bumper, which honestly, today, it's not been the most uncommon occurrence. We've seen one just a few hours ago too. But as the drivers make their way on towards the Ullman Straight, drivers weaving. I mean, track temperature is 132 degrees Fahrenheit, so you won't need too much regardless. As the black and blue McLaren makes its way back into the formation up, we're currently spectating Gardner in the Mercedes. Shade in the McLaren back up into 18th place. And Burrows into 26th place. Mosby, remember, didn't start this race, but the drivers making their way through the final turn. And it will be the Hurricane who will lead the line into turn 1. On the inside, it will be Lau instead of Mosby. In second and third is Alvarez, who will be on the inside line of Lau. But the green flag being raised up and waved now. And Andrew Lau on the outside of Baron, who gets a good start. On the inside, that's Odom in the dark and red Mustang into turn 1. It will be the Hurricane who takes the race lead. It will be Alvarez and Odom going side by side. Odom takes second place. In the background, you can see a couple of cars going side by side into turn 3. The Ferrari that you see, the white Ferrari, is either Cooper or Lawson. We're watching Andrew Lau as he drops down to 7th place. As we see Cooper ahead of Lawson in the white Ferrari. Sierra getting racing behind Lawson. And Sierra in the McLaren. As we're watching Allen versus Manuel into turn 7 now. The McLaren dropping back. Not going for the move just yet, but Lawson still getting ahead on the McLaren. Was getting and looking to go down the inside of Cooper. Not just yet, however. As we're watching a couple of cars as Eduardo Padilla in the Aston Martin ahead of the Ford of Alatoit. Garcia behind Gardner at the moment. A few moves between Alatoit and Padilla. Padilla on the outside in the Sakura Aston Martin. As we see a move into Tower. Alvarez ahead of Odom. Odom doing very good to stay in the race lead in GT3 Silver. Will relegate himself down to 3rd overall. But nevertheless, a great start for Odom to be ahead of Cooper by just under a second. Meanwhile, we're watching Matt Mosby, who came out of the pit lane, and now he's currently in 27th place still. So because he stayed in the pit lane, that means he is a lap down at the moment. It's an unfortunate start as Pascoe versus Allen. That's getting a bit racy for 9th and 10th place. As Pascoe gets ahead of Allen. We're watching Fleming. Pascoe going and moving ahead of Allen on the straight. And was watching Burrows getting it past. No, we're not. As Pascoe versus Allen once again. Allen on the outside of Pascoe. And it looks like the McLarens have gone all the way around the outside. Orellana getting racy with the Mustang as well. Into turn 3. But not seeing a dive bomb. Can't see a dive bomb just yet. But in the race lead, Barron now 2.1 seconds ahead of Alvarez in the Hurricane. He's made a great start and is starting to pull away. Alvarez still ahead of Odin by 7/10 of a second. Then 1.1 seconds back will be Cooper and Lawson. Then the McLarens of Sierra, Lau, and Fleming 8th. I mean the Porsche of 8th. As we're watching the sole Mercedes out on track, Gardner ahead of Evans, who still has that broken front bumper. He can get that repaired with that one fast repair that everybody has available to them. So no stress there. Meanwhile, Sierra versus Lau. Lau started in P3 at the end of the first lap, went down to 7th place. He'll be looking to try and gain back the positions he has lost. But first, he needs to dispatch 3rd place in GT3 Pro, Sierra. 6th place overall. They're both behind the 3 cars of Odin, Cooper, and Lawson, who are the podium sitters in GT3 Silver at this current moment in time. Just under 4 minutes have elapsed in this race as we head towards the 3rd lap. And Lau in the McLaren behind Sierra, also in the McLaren, as we're looking at Odin versus Alvarez. Odin in GT3 Silver has found some great pace to challenge the race leaders in GT3 Pro heading through turn 1. Meanwhile, Padilla versus Shade in the McLaren. Shade involved in a collision during the formation lap, and Padilla dispatches of the McLaren with relative ease up into 14th place as we see Evans versus Mango into turn 1. The Corvette ahead of the Porsche at this moment in time. D'Arlusio versus Breedlove versus Padilla. Padilla in the Aston Martin. D'Arlusio is the purple Mustang. Breedlove being the red and black Mustang just ahead. D'Arlusio currently in 30th place, 7th in GT3 Silver at this moment in time. We'll be looking to want to dispatch Breedlove, who is 1.5 seconds behind Orellana, the GT3 Silver. So if D'Arlusio wants to get past as Padilla looks at the inside tower, Breedlove, Padilla, D'Arlusio covers it off. Breedlove getting extremely racy here. Padilla getting extremely racy here. In the Aston Martin, D'Arlusio having to defend it. Heading out onto the Almond Straight. D'Arlusio getting a great run on Breedlove, heading towards Sunset. As they head into turn 17, it looks to be D'Arlusio perhaps going to the inside. A flash of the headlights for the purple Mustang, but not being able to dispatch of Breedlove just yet. In the background, you can see a black Porsche versus, that's Shade and Brosius heading into turn 1. But no swap and changes there. It's Brosius ahead of Shade. Mango getting ahead of Evans in the damaged Corvette. Finally, maybe, but the Corvette still managing to get the run out of turn 1. Heading in through turn 2 and turn 3. They'll be side by side. The Corvette braking later into Christensen corner. And but the Porsche covers it off. And now will be in 20th place overall ahead of Evans. Orellana and Pasco is getting racy, so is D'Arlusio and Breedlove. As they both make contact side by side, Pasco and Orellana not being particularly impressed with each other. The McLaren flashes its headlights. And Pasco heading into Cunningham corner. The McLaren looking for maybe a move. No chance just yet. Meanwhile, Breedlove. D'Arlusio got ahead of Breedlove as the Porsche of Brosius getting on the inside of the Aston Martin. And in the background, you can see Mosby in 17th place, trying to get past all of these cars. In the background, Mosby, that dispatches of one, and heading into the bend, is stuck behind the Porsche of Brosius. Padilla on the inside, bit of contact between the Corvette and Porsche, heading through now into the Le Mans curve. It's a spin out for the Porsche, takes Padilla with him, and that is Brosius versus Padilla. Padilla not going to be extremely happy with that. Got passed by now by Shade. Mosby trying to climb back what was lost. Currently in 14th place. It's 2 seconds now to Breedlove. Meanwhile, this is for 6th and 7th place. Andrew Lau ahead of Sierra. Lau got ahead of Sierra a few moments ago. Now is under pressure from Sierra. Lau 2.7 seconds between himself and Lawson. Struggling out there a little bit. Lawson also getting close with Cooper as well, as Padilla comes into the pits to perhaps repair a bit of damage caused by the contact with Brosius. Andrew Lau exiting out of 10.5. I don't think Sierra's going to go for a move here, as we're looking at Cooper versus Lawson. These guys have been relatively close to one another. Podium sitters in GT3 Silver currently, with just over 9 minutes completed of this race. As that is Zachary Manuel in 23rd, going off track there, and still going off track. He's got Gutierrez behind him, and struggles out there for the McLaren. Cooper and Lawson heading through Tower, both in Ferrari 296s. And they both are in the middle of no man's land after about 10 minutes. They're a bit far away from Odin, but they're quite a bit away ahead of Lau, Sierra, and Fleming in the M&M's Porsche. He's catched up to this battle due to both Sierra and Lau completely fighting against one another in the two McLarens. And those two battling up in front have caused the Porsche to catch right back up into this fight, and Fleming looking to get a podium place in GT3 Pro and 6th place overall. I mean 7th place overall. Heading into lap 6 of this race. 10.5 minutes elapsing, and Fleming struggling with a bit of connection issues. Javi Sierra and Lawson and Cooper swap positions. Lawson ahead of Cooper. And now Lawson will have 3.2 seconds to catch to Odom. Fleming 4.5 tenths away from Sierra. They're all pulling away from Allen in the McLaren in 9th. But what can Fleming do? The Porsche hasn't been iRacing's favourite car in terms of BOP as of late. The open setup does change things quite a fair bit. But what can Fleming do behind his McLaren? 2.5 tenths split the two cars heading into Tower. It's great through the corners, but doesn't have enough straight line speed to get ahead of both Sierra and Lau. Mosby on a redemption arc, trying to fight against Star Lucio now. 13th place overall currently, as they head through the curves. And that Star Lucio going very deep into the first bend, and heading out of Le Mans curve, you can see Matt Mosby trying to get the best exits possible. He does so, and he ends up side by side with D'Arlucio. Mosby creeping ahead of the Ford Mustang, but you can see it's a complete drag race between two American cars. The Ford Mustang slightly winning, but into the corner, Matt Mosby easily takes 12th place away from D'Arlucio. The race lead still belongs to Dallas Barron as of Australia in the Hurricane. The sole Hurricane in this race, 2.8 seconds ahead of Alvarez. Odom in third place overall and in first place in GT3 Silver. It's been a very, very good race for Kamari Odom. For SimSwag Technologies team, he's going to be extremely happy that they are in this position. Alvarez and Barron have swapped places. Is that a bug or is that actually real? Barron has gone off. Barron has gone off. He's stationary. What has happened to Dallas Barron? And this is Kamari Odom. Okay, this is Dallas Barron. And he's slow. Something. Oh, it's a wheelbase problem. That is for sure a wheelbase problem for Dallas Barron, leader in GT3 Pro, and overall a wheelbase problem has eluded him. He's going to be extremely gutted by that, and he's come back into the pits. That means that Alvarez inherits the race lead, with second place Odom and Lawson in third. Alvarez inheriting the race lead, currently our championship leader in GT3 Pro. He'll be looking to extend that even further. Now, with no competitor ahead of him, he'll be looking to use his clean air to his advantage. Gardner versus Alatoit, 17th and 18th place. Gardner in the sole Mercedes, trying to get the best as possible, but a bit of a close shave to the outside wall. Bit of understeer in that Mercedes. And he'll be looking to try to get ahead of Alatoit. Currently, Alatoit is third place in GT3 AM. Gardner will want to make it him instead. As Cooper and Lawson once again swap places, and Cooper on the inside of Lawson. Interesting here. They didn't seem too close about it. I wonder what happened to Cooper and Lawson, if we can get a replay. Fleming now at the back of Sierra in the Porsche. And this is what happened between Cooper and Brick Lawson. Brick Lawson, very deep, and he went onto the grass, exiting out of the hairpin. So that put him in a compromising position. Yeah, just the wrong line completely out of the hairpin, compromising his exit out of the hairpin. And yeah, Cooper getting on by relatively quickly straight after. So Lawson have a few problems. Meanwhile, Fleming versus Sierra into Sunset, the M&M's Porsche to the inside at turn 17 Sunset. Porsche needs to get better traction. It's got a rear engine layout, it's good at that, but also a bit of understeer once you deploy the power due to that. And Fleming will have to wait for another time to get past Sierra. And oh, those are Porsches and McLarens going wide in the background. That is, I believe, Pasco Allen going out wide. What's happened here? And that is a lapped Porsche involved in that incident. And Allen goes to the inside of Pasco. Allen now up into fourth place. As we see, Pasco versus Orellana. This battle has history. Pasco versus Orellana. Orellana towards the inside of Pasco. And Pasco defending in the middle. Yeah, these two do not like each other in the slightest. They are arguing out on track right now. And it's Orellana in the McLaren, who will now be under pressure from Matt Mosby. Orellana in the McLaren will be stuck on the inside into Cunningham corner, but Matt Mosby lets him by. And, well, that's Lawson. Lawson gets ahead of Cooper, who lets him by as well. This is quite an interesting affair. I'm not too sure what is exactly happening between Lawson and Cooper, but they keep swapping places, whether on accident or on purpose. I'm not really too sure. Andrew Lau, 2.5 tenths away from Cooper. And Lau, remember, qualified in third. Currently 5th place overall. As Alatoids gets a black flag for, I believe, instant points. Black flag means a drive-through penalty. So Alatoids will have to serve that in the next couple of laps as Alan gets a slowdown. And that might put him under pressure to Pascoe. Andrew Lau exiting out of the final corner is not close enough just yet to the back of Cooper. Meanwhile, Mosby still trying to climb back from a defunct first row start. As the Mustang of Pascoe goes very wide, allows Mosby to get ahead of him into turn 3. Cooper, Lau getting very close to one another, to Lawson too. And exiting out through Fangio curve in towards Cunningham corner. Cooper 2 tenths away from Lawson. Did one go for the move on each other? No, just no. 4.5 seconds between Lawson and Odom at the moment. Odom in a relatively comfortable race leaders, but on the front bumper of Andrew Lau, but the fight is just up ahead between the two Ferraris. They're getting racy once again. As Fleming's at the back of Sierra. And through the curves. The Porsche trying to get the best exit as possible. No chance just yet. In fact, Lau and Cooper once again. Lawson has run away with it. He's way too far up ahead for Cooper to take, and Cooper lets Lau by. They aren't fighting against one another. They're both in separate classes, as Mosby getting ahead of Allen. Cooper not deciding to not waste any time battling with another classed car, such as Andrew Lau. He'll be using Lau as a sort of maybe buffer to put Lawson off guard when Lau does get past. That's if Lau gets past Lawson. We're currently watching Kamari Odom. And what's happened to Kamari Odom? Going out wide. Alvarez in the race lead. You can see in the background, the Huracan's back on track. Yes, Baron is making his way out on track after restarting, turning it off and turning it back on again. The wheelbase has decided to open up. The Mercedes going out completely wide. That is Gardner in the Mercedes GT3. Burrows currently in 18th place under pressure from Padilla. Fleming always seems to get close through these bends, but coming out of the straight, he's got to hope that there's a mistake from the McLaren heading their way towards the front straight. There's just no opportunity for Fleming to get past this McLaren of Sierra. Meanwhile, Burrows has dropped down the field quite considerably, now behind Padilla. As, Fleming versus Sierra. No change. As that is, oh, that is Cooper. Cooper making a real dash into the pits, but he was sideways heading into the pits, completely and utterly sideways. I'd like to see a replay of what happened to Cooper, because that was not a purposeful pit entry. I'll tell you that much. This is Drew Cooper, who ends up drifting out of turn 17 and is forced into the pit lane. Whether it's 22 minutes in, it's a forced pit stop due to the fact that at this moment there's no other way. The cone's sure, but yeah, you would get a penalty for that. Yeah, that's just a complete drift through turn 17. And yeah, exiting out. Too much, and you can put that on the poster. Just not anywhere you would enjoy. And yes, into the pit lane for Drew Cooper. And now Lawson is a sole Ferrari in the top 4. Under pressure from Andrew Lau. So is Fleming versus Sierra. Still front bumper to rear bumper between these two cars. You can see how much the Porsche gains through these bends, but at the exit of the Le Mans curve where you would normally go for an overtake, there's just nothing that the M&M's Porsche can do. As he makes his way through the Le Mans curve. Let's see the slipstream and the engine power of the Porsche. It's close to stagnant. You can see the Porsche slowly creeping on by, but is there enough speed? Heading in towards sunset? No. And Fleming getting increasingly frustrated because Mosby has managed to catch up to Fleming here, who's now only 6 tenths behind. Lau versus Lawson has dropped down to 1.5 tenths of a second. And that looks to be extremely close into turn 1. Lau not being able to get ahead of Lawson. And you can see Mosby right at the back of Fleming here. Mosby had the pace to be fighting it out with both Barron and Alvarez, but it's come to the point of where he needs to recover a drive, and the positions of GT3 Pro are up ahead. He's currently in 5th place in GT3 Pro after Barron's sudden disconnect with the wheelbase, and he'll be looking to try to get ahead of Fleming at some point. The Corvette has been relatively strong here at Sebring. And now exiting out of Cunningham Corner. Who goes for the move? Will Fleming feel under pressure to go for a dive, or will Mosby get it first ahead of Fleming? And Fleming, yeah, as we said, closest to the bends, but not going for the move. Can't go for the move. There's no space on the inside, at least for this moment. Heading on towards through the Le Mans curve onto the Almond Straight. Mosby, 180 thousandths, splitting the two cars. As Fleming chooses to cut in a little bit, shorter exit out, so shorter route to the exit out than Sierra. But now it's a 3-car battle for 3rd place in GT3 Pro and 5th place overall. Exiting out to turn 5. Who gets the best exit? It looks to be Mosby. Mosby versus Fleming in towards the hairpin. Will there be a move for Mosby? Will he go for it? He looks to be going to the inside, in towards the hairpin at turn 7. It looks to be Mosby trying to get ahead of both. No contact between himself and the McLaren. of Javi Sierra. Mosby making contact with the McLaren into turn 7, and that means Sierra has dropped from 5th down into 7th. Mosby went onto the inside at turn 7. He's in the rearmost car in this 3-car battle, and you can see Mosby appear in the picture now into the inside, but braking a little bit later. Javi Sierra didn't expect it, and thus dropping a couple of places. Lau getting close to Lawson as they make their way through the bends. 3.5 temps split between the two cars. Lau qualified P3. P3 is currently Lawson's. We'll see what happens here at the Ullman Straight. Powering down, McLaren versus Ferrari. 2.5 temps, 2 temps now. Into more sunset, the McLaren not going for the move on the inside. Allen versus Sierra, that's down to 1/10 of a second, but exiting out to turn 17, it will be Lau on the slipstream of the Ferrari. A move here happened a couple of laps ago for Lau, but he didn't make it successful. Will it be this time? It's contact door-to-door between himself and Brick Lawson. Lawson is forced out slightly wide. Andrew Lau taking much to the inside to break that as he takes to turn 3. Brick Lawson stays ahead of Andrew Lau. Contact into turn 1, and Lau will relegate himself down back into P4 overall. This battling only allows Mosby to catch up to this fight. Mosby could end up with P2 in GT3 Pro as long as these cars keep battling. Lawson, P2 in, I mean, P2 as Andrew Lau's in P2. Mosby could get P2 in GT3 Pro. As we're looking at the fastest lap, I believe the fastest lap is Barron, but he's not in the timing towers currently, so that's unfortunate to see. But fastest lap in the top 10 does belong to Mosby with 201.974. He's on an utter charge here. As we see Lau trying to get the best exit possible out of Le Mans curve. He does so with relative success. Heading towards sunset. McLaren versus Ferrari. There's a copy and paste of last lap, but will we see a move before turn 17? Yes. It'll be Lau on the inside. The Ferrari still ahead. But this time the McLaren back on the slipstreams, copy and paste is the last lap. Andrew Lau to the inside. This time, will they make door-to-door contact once again? No, they're still on the inside, Andrew Lau. And they exit turn 1 with Lawson still ahead of Andrew Lau. Lawson is putting up a great defense here ahead of one GT3 Pro. He's not giving up an overall podium. Why would you? Meanwhile, Sturley versus Cooper. Cooper trying to recover from a forced, quote-unquote, pit stop. He drifted into the pit lane, in short. And Cooper ahead of Sturley. Alvarez, 10.4 seconds. We're looking at what was supposed to be a fight between leaders, but one is lapped instead. It's a Baron in the red, white, and green Huracan. Had an unfortunate stop at the side of the racetrack due to his wheelbase messing up. Pole position, ending up currently lapped down in, I believe, the lower 20th places. It's increasingly unfortunate, but I don't think this battle really matters at the moment. Lau behind Lawson still. It's now Mosby is joined in on the fun as Mosby's currently the quickest car in the top 10 as Mosby loses the rear heading towards Le Mans curve. That will stunt his progress a little bit slightly. And next down Le Mans curve, The gap between Lau and Lawson has been the closest it has ever been during this race. 33 minutes into it. It will be Lau finally ahead of Lawson through turn 17. But this time Lawson will get the fight back at the exit of the final corner. Or will it be Mosby? Who will it be? It's a three-car battle for crying out loud for third place as Fleming comes into the pits. And then Mosby piling on the pressure behind Lawson. It's so close. Where's Lawson choose to go? I believe we might see a move on the inside for Mosby into turn 7 because he gets the best exit possible. Heading into turn 7, we've seen a copycat move potentially. Will he stay back or will he go for the move on the inside? It looks to be it's hanging back for now. As Fleming is coming out of the pits, currently in P14. And now P15. After Lau dispatch of Lawson, Lau will start to drag Lawson into slipstream to stay ahead of Mosby. Remember that Mosby is not Lawson's competitor, but Lau's competitor. They're both regulated in different classes. So the fact that Andrew Lau has an opportunity to put a buffer in between himself and Mosby, he's in a great position to start pulling away as Lawson will try to defend from Mosby as much as he possibly can. Chase cam here at Matt Mosby. As he comes into the pits. Mosby, an early pitter, this time on strategy. He came into the pits very early in the GT Sprint Series Europe as well, and he had to pit for a second time. And this time as well, it's an early stop. 35 minutes in. He'll have 35 minutes left to go, so it should be to the end at this point. Orellana also into the pits. Breedlove also into the pits as well. Allen at the back of Sierra. Allen, remember, he spun out, I believe, or was a victim in a spin for one of the Corvettes during the formation lap. Lau under pressure from Lawson. Now that Mosby comes into the pits, Lawson is less under pressure and can start working, figuring out how to get past Andrew Lau. But I believe on this lap, they're not going to be close enough for a battle here. So, who will be coming into the pits, I wonder? Alvarez, Odom, they're still out there in the currently as Fleming getting close to Orellana. Both pitted very recently. Fleming earlier than Orellana. Orellana coming out of the pits on cold tires through Cullinan Corner, swiftly makes the move through Collier Corner. Odom into the pits. We're watching Virgilio Garcia at the back of Burrows. Garcia down in 19th at the moment. He'll be looking to want to dispatch of a couple of cars, which will be Burrows as, yeah. Lau inheriting second place on the road due to Odom pitting. Odom coming out in ninth place, just ahead of Matt Mosby. Mosby has gone for a great outlap here, and he's at the right at the back of Odom after pitting a lap earlier. This may spell for an interesting circumstance because Odom, I'm not sure how long his pit stop was for, but it definitely seemed a little bit longer. Odom, P2 overall, and now just coming out of the pit lane with colder tyres. As, yeah, Odom for Simsports Technologies team. It will be Matt Mosby Xing out, and it will be Odom cutting across the grass, and Mosby will inherit ninth place ahead of Odom. As Alvarez now comes into the pit. Where does he come out in all of this? Mosby not close enough to make an advantage of it as long as Alvarez goes in for just a fuel stop. I do wonder if Odom has gone for a tyre stop as well. Remember how the track is 132 degrees Fahrenheit, which is unbelievably hot for a track temperature. So you can destroy the tyres relatively easily. Lau, Lawson, Pascoe, all into the pits as well. Sierra, Allen inherit the race lead. Matt Mosby on the Almond Straight. Alvarez is Xing out of the pit, and he looks to be Xing pretty comfortably in first. No stress there. Mosby through Sunset. Lau also Xing out of the pit lane. Where's Lau versus Lawson versus Mosby? You got Andrew Lau stuck behind the Mercedes. Where does Mosby come into this? Where is Mosby? Mosby hasn't got enough speed to get ahead of Lau, but is ahead of Lawson. So he's gotten ahead of Lawson. As we see Odom try to get past Lawson as well in the background. And they're still side by side between Odom and the Ferrari of Lawson. Odom gets ahead of Lawson. Mosby with the warmed up tyres. 7/10 split between these two cars. He pitted 5 minutes ago compared to Lau's a minute ago. And going through Collier Curve, you can see what warm tyres does to a car. It activates it completely, and through Tower, the concertina effect, incredibly massive. And through the bend, Odom, with an interesting strategy, he's unfortunate to end up in 6th place on the road. Allen now back into the pits. It could be 5th place on the road for Odom. Still in the race lead, but behind the GT3 pros. Mosby behind Lau. Wants to take the podium place, 2nd place on maybe when Sierra comes into the pits. That'll be Lau still ahead of Mosby, not just yet, because Mosby on the inside still and getting the better run. Who does? Corvette versus McLaren, side by side, as Matt Mosby takes 3rd place on the road as they get past Allen. And Mosby, starting from the pit lane, to remind you, has now climbed up to 3rd place overall here at the GT Sprint Series Americas, and it could well be 2nd on the road after Sierra will serve his one mandatory stop. It has been a comeback drive, has been a well-earned comeback drive. here as Cooper versus Breelove. I saw on the timing pages that Breelove got ahead of Cooper, but now Cooper will be looking to get that pass back because Breelove has been leading GT3 AM for quite a fair bit while now, and he's in a very semi-comfortable position here. He's about, what is that, 29, 30 seconds ahead of the next GT3 AM. So Luce and Breedlove doing relatively well, and Cooper to the inside at turn 3. Meanwhile, Dallas Barron, 15th, 15 seconds at the back of Breedlove. It's been an unfortunate event for Barron, starting on pole, leading the line with relative ease, then a disconnect, and with the wheelbase ends up in 15th overall. As Sierra comes into the pits, Alvarez will inherit the race lead. Alberto Alvarez now takes back the race lead ahead of now. Where's Mosby come into the equation? Does he get ahead of Sierra? Mosby across the start-finish line. Sierra is exiting out of his pit box now. Mosby gets second place. Where does Sierra end up? It will be Odom in fourth, Lau in third. Sierra versus Lawson exiting out of the pit lane. Lawson just ahead of Sierra. And that means your 1, 2, and 3 are Alvarez, Mosby, and Lau after everyone's done their pit stops. Odom and Lawson and Allen are your GT3 silver podium sitters. Breedlove, Sturley, and Burrows, your GT3 AM podium sitters. And make sure to check out nvsimsports.com. The website has all the information. Discord to join the GT Sprint series if you really want to. It's free. We welcome literally everybody, whether you're a rookie or to a pro, which is why we have all our separate classes here. And make sure to check out Instagram, X, and Facebook at nvsimsports on all the socials. Alberto Alvarez, 16.3 seconds ahead of Mosby. Will Mosby try to catch that up? He's got about 25 minutes left to do so. And Fleming versus Allen. How about part 2 Electric Boogaloo as we see Gardner currently in 23rd place in the Mercedes. Fleming once again at the back of a McLaren. Frustrated to no end for Fleming. He probably is sick of seeing that rear lights of the McLaren. Travis Allen, currently 3rd place in GT3 Silver. He's currently 3 seconds ahead of Pasco, the next car behind him. And he'll be pretty happy with a podium finish after being spun round in the formation lap by a Corvette of, I believe it was Evans, in the red, white, and blue livery. Oh, Stephen Shade, my bad. They both have the same colours. Stephen Shade in 12th place got spun around. He'll be happy with the fact that he is able to continue on. And it was he's catching up to Dar Lucio here. Dar Lucio, 5th place, 6th place in GT3 Silver. The Mustang's weakness is its slow speed corners, as we're seeing Allen versus Fleming. This is Vladislav Alatoit, 4th place in GT3 AM. As Manuel Travis Allen ahead of Fleming. Pasco 2.5 seconds away. You can see him in the background in the picture. Still, Pasco still needs to catch up to the back of Fleming. Allen is pushing him along, however. Orellana in 10th place. Pasco versus Orellana, that has history, but they're 6.1 seconds away from each other. D'Arlucio versus Shade. As they make their way through the bend, 2.5 tenths between D'Arlucio and Shade. The Ford Mustang doesn't like these medium speed corners. You can see the McLaren immediately catching up, trying to set up the best exit out of Le Mans curve. Slipstream for Shade. D'Arlucio to the middle of the racetrack. McLaren goes to the inside. Into turn 17, the McLaren will get that move ahead of D'Arlucio. The D'Arlucio might try to go for the switchback, does so with some relative success. D'Arlucio, drag race between himself and the McLaren on the inside. Stephen Shade still trying to creep up just ahead, heading into turn 1. D'Arlucio turns to the right to make the racing line, but it will be the McLaren up into 11th place, 6th place overall. And well done to Stephen Shade for battling it out with D'Arlucio up into 11th. Oh, but look at this already. D'Arlucio, 3 times as Fleming gets ahead of Allen. Finally. Doesn't see a McLaren anymore. He will see another McLaren 3 seconds up ahead, however. Eminem's Porsche, currently 5th place in GT3 Pro, will be trying to catch back up to Sierra. And then second already extended from himself and Allen. There's not going to be a fight here. Well done to Jamie Fleming. Mosby, he looks to be involved in some sort of battle between himself and the lapped Porsche. Interesting affair. What is happening here? The 12 Porsche impeding Matt Mosby just that little fair bit. Blue flags will be raised here. Mosby to the inside at turn 5. Increasingly frustrated at the fact that he's been held up by that 12 Porsche. D'Arlucio and Shade, half a second between the two cars. And through turn 5, D'Arlucio is able to catch up a little fair bit. Its strengths, the Ford Mustang, inherently are its straight line speed. The McLaren's medium to low speed corners is where you would find the best strengths coming out of that car, but you have to throw it in to get it the most out of it. And you can see D'Arlucio slowly making his way at the back of this McLaren, but now you'll see the McLaren maybe start to pull away coming through Collier Curve. Well, not just, he's a little bit out of shape. Out of Cunningham Corner, into Tower now. Through the bends. You can start to see that Shea versus D'Arlucio is not going to happen. Odom versus Lawson has gone down to 0.3 of a second. And Odom ahead of Lawson. This is for the race lead in GT3 Silver. Odom struggling with the tyres a little bit, going out wide through turn 1. And it will be heading through turns 4 and 5, where you'll see the Ferrari get the better exit. Heading out of the turn 5 at the back of the Mustang. Kamari Odom under pressure for the GT3 race lead. Into turn 7. Is there anything that the Mustang can do to still be ahead of this Ferrari? Lawson, 5/10 away. But he's understeered completely into the grass, and that will stop any sort of progress in terms of a fight on towards the Almond Straight on this lap, as Darlucio getting ahead of Shea. They go side by side through Cunningham Corner into Collier Curve. No, this is turn 7. I mean, turn 7 and 8 into Cunningham Corner now. It will be Shade on the outside. Darlucio switches from the racing line back to the inside. Cunningham Corner. What a battle between Shade and Darlucio. Shade still ahead of Darlucio. Burrows versus Stanley. That's going to get close because Burrows is fighting for versus Sturley. Burrows now in P2 in GT3 AM. Going towards the inside. This is for position for the podium in GT3 AM. Burrows now in 16th place overall. Second place in GT3 AM ahead of Sturley. In towards the hairpin. And we're seeing Darlucio versus Shade once again. The gap has gone down to 3.5 tenths of a second. Heading in through turn 3. There's not too many battles out on track here today. 15 minutes left to go. Shade P5. The P6 in GT3 Silver. As we see Baron, who comes in for a second pit stop. He had to come in for an early pit stop, unforced, forced into the pit stop after having to tow into the pits. And for a second pit stop, he'll end up back in 15th place. Kamari Odom still in the lead. No, he might be under pressure here, going out wide at the exit of Le Mans curve. The tyres are starting to wear off here. 132 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature as a reminder. And Kamari Odom weaving on the straight. I'm trying to wonder why is that. Lawson exiting out of turn 17. Oh no, he's lost it. Lawson in second place has lost it, and he will be missing a front bumper. Drifts out as he will lose second place and perhaps third place to Pasco. That's Pasco in the white and black Mustang. But XAL, you saw maybe that Lawson was trying to get the best exit possible. Saw that Odom was under pressure, but it's a very similar incident except with different consequences to Drew Cooper not too long ago. And Brick Lawson down into, I believe, 4th place in GT3 Silver, 9th place overall, and he's going to be frustrated with himself that he's made that happen. Alvarez in the comfortable race lead ahead of Mosby, 17.6 seconds further back. Andrew Lau, 3rd place, 4.7 seconds, and that's further back too. Odom still in the race lead in GT3 Silver, was in 2nd place overall. He'll be relatively content with that. Sierra, 5th place overall, 4th place in GT3 Pro. Fleming, 6th place in GT3 Pro. Sixth place overall, Alan, Pasco, Lawson, Orellana, all relatively close to one another. As we're seeing Brick Lawson trying to lap the 12 Porsche. As Lawson gets a slowdown penalty for cutting over those curbs. Yeah, this Porsche does have blue flags and he does need to get out of the way. And so he does. Lawson, 9th place, currently 3.1 seconds behind Pasco. Darlucia versus Shea, that goes down to 6 tenths of a second. 11.5 minutes left to go of this race. It looks to be that first, second, and third in all classes seems to be relatively set in stone, with maybe the exemption of Silver, GT3 Silver. Because in GT3 Pro, Alvarez and Mosby allowed seem to be pretty set in stone for that, unless I've cursed them. In GT3 Am, it's Breedlove, Burrows, and Sturley that are still the podium sitters there. It's Odom, Allen, and Pasco first, second, and third in GT3 Silver, and Allen and Pasco 2 seconds away from each other. Anything can happen there with 10 minutes. Tires, fuel. It's a question, really. Does anybody need to go for a second stop? You don't really need to unless you've been pushing 100% from start to finish. We're currently watching Trey Mango, the 922 Porsche. Stephen Shade and Darlucio. Remember that the GT Sprint Series by MV Simsports is sponsored by SimSwag Technologies, Triple Stint, Coach Dave Academy, SimGrid, Heaven's Jewelry Hut, and Rogue Energy. Thank you for our partners for supporting everyone at MV Simsports and the GT Sprint Series concurrently. Darlucio, 3 attempts away from Stephen Shade. As they make their way through the curves, is there enough tires on that Ford Mustang to go for a move? Any sort of opportunity, because Stephen Shade, with the inherent stress of the McLaren, can take the tires with a little bit strain. The only bad thing about it is that the Mustang has got the stronger straight line speed inherently, unless strong changes in the open setup have done to affect that. In the turn 17, Dart Shade, more aggressive on the entry, but weaker at the exit. Darlucio taking his opportunity to get the better exit out of turn 17. Shade still 4 attempts ahead heading into turn 1 and extending that a little bit further. Eight and a half minutes remaining. Everyone has done their compulsory stop. And this is the closest battle out on track. 4 attempts away from each other. Odom in the race leader, GT3 Silver. Now the 99 car ahead of not only every other GT3 Silver, but also a couple of GT3 Pros ahead of Sierra and Fleming. He'll be happy with his performance, but perhaps was hoping for an overall podium because he was in a comfortable position to do that. Wasn't second place overall. But instead, that's been taken by Mosby and Lau. Lawson was also P3 in GT overall until that pit stop and spin. Three tenths. between Darlucio and Shade. Heading out onto the back stretch. McLaren getting the better exit. But is there enough in that Ford Mustang for there to be an opportunity for a move? With 7 minutes left to go. Can't say for certain. The McLaren likes to go deep into turn 17 at the detriment of a worse exit. And that worse exit has put Darlucio right at the back here. 2.5 temps between the two cars. Now it's gone down to 1.5 temps. Darlucio to the inside of Shade. No. Covers it off for now. And Stephen Shade has got the Ferrari up ahead. That may hold them both up a little bit. Coming out of turn 5, it has held them up. In fact, it's even more held them up. The Ferrari now will be stuck on the inside. Will have the blue flags being raised as there is a battle going up ahead. It is Darlucio to the inside of the McLaren. They have put a wheel in the Mustang, but it's still not enough for Darlucio to get ahead. Stephen Shade putting up a defense to stay ahead, and he's doing very well at just that. He's got 6 minutes left to survive of a raging Mustang horse right behind. The McLaren doing very well. Gardner serving his penalty, a drive-through penalty for too many instant points. He's currently in the pit lane. I believe he hasn't come back out. Meanwhile, Darlucio now back on the straight, the Ullman straight. We've seen a move at turn 17. Will the McLaren go very deep into sunset, like he has done on previous laps, at the detriment of maybe being under pressure into turn 1? The flash of the headlights for Darlucio. The McLaren into turn 17. Who gets the better exit out of the two? Where is Darlucio in all of this? Yep, the gap is going down to 0.3 of a second, 2.5 tenths once again. But I don't think we're going to see a Darlucio move into turn 1. But it's still the McLaren just ahead of the Mustang. Into turn 7. Does the Mustang go for it? He goes towards the inside. There's not enough braking power in the Ford Mustang to go alongside, so we will stick behind for now. 4 minutes left of this race left to go. There's also a battle for P2 and GT3 AM as well that's starting to brew up. 6.5 tenths between them two. But this fight for P6, this is the closest battle of the McLaren going onto the dirt, on the curb. And through Collier Curve, heading into Tower. The increasing pressure, now it's front bumper to rear bumper action between the two GT3 cars. Stephen Shade in the 33. The Ford Mustang in towards the bends. Now this is the weakest part. Its medium speed corners has inherent understeer, that muscle car. But out of the long curve, slipstream will benefit the benefactor. What can he do? The slowdown penalty for Greedlove. No, slowdown penalty for Cooper, I mean, my bad. As he will serve that, heading into sunset. You can see how much later the McLaren brakes are a different line being taken by Darlucio. But I believe that line hasn't gone too well. Half a second now. D'Arlucio going very wide at turn 1. As there is 2 minutes of this race left to go, we're going to start seeing the white flags being raised for Alvarez. Alvarez currently heading his way through the Omen Strait. And I believe the next time that Alvarez comes through, this will be the final lap for Alvarez. The white flag being raised for Alberto Alvarez, who is in a comfortable lead ahead of Mosby in second. He's been leading this race. He got pole position. Mosby started the pit lane, wasn't able to take to the start. He's 16.8 seconds away. Mosby has had a brilliant race regardless of not starting, by the way. He's just started the pit lane, decided to climb through 25 other cars. And Mosby, he's done very well there. We're still looking at Alberto Alvarez coming. Again, now we've finally switched him at Mosby. Mosby in second place. As mentioned, started from the pit lane, climbed his way up to second place. But what could have been if he started actually in the front row? Do want to have a question about him, what exactly happened for that to be the case. Andrew Lau in third. He qualified in third, started in third, will potentially finish in third with 30 seconds left to go, as long as nothing goes horribly wrong. Odom currently in the lead in GT3 Silver. Has got Sierra at the back, but that won't really matter come to the end of this race. Odom with a great race, currently in the race lead. Sierra in 4th place in GT3 Pro, 5th place overall. But Fleming on the Omen Strait. He's coming to the end of a great race out there for Alvarez. Alvarez through the final corner now. And it has been a dominant race from start to finish for Alberto Alvarez. Alvarez will come across the line to win after 70 minutes here at the GT Sprint Series Americas. Round 2 is complete. He wins for a second time in the row. 1 race win at Le Mans, 2 race wins now at Sebring, and Matt Mosby with a comeback drive to finish second overall. Well done to him. A hard drive, but he's done it. Andrew Lau will finish in 3rd place in GT3 Pro. Odom will win in GT3 Silver. Flash of the headlights. It's been a well-earned victory for Kamari Odom. Fleming and Sierra will finish 4th and 5th in GT3 Pro. Allen and Pascoe will finish P2 and P3 in GT3 Silver. Lawson P4 will be gutted that podium has eluded him. Orellana will finish in 5th. Has been a good race for Orellana. Shane and D'Arlucio still close to fighting it out. They'll finish 11th and 12th overall. Cooper, after being in the battle in the early minutes of this race with Lawson, a forced early stop relegates him down to 13th place overall. He'll be thinking what could have been, but Breedlove, 14th place overall, 1st place in GT3 Am. He'll take the win for the GT3 amateur drivers here today. Well done to Lucien Breedlove. And he wins for a 2nd time in a row in GT3 Am. Baron, what could have been? Pole position started, pulled away, and then just had that disconnect. 15th place on the road. Burrows finishes in 2nd place in GT3 Am. Sterling in 3rd place. See Mango coming across the line as well for the final car to do so. And that is it for this race. 70 minutes of the GT Sprint Americas here at Round 2 Sebring is over. And this is what our race results look like. Alberto Alvarez with the race win. Matt Mosby in second. Andrew Lau in third. Kamari Odom with the race win. In fourth, Javi Sierra fifth and sixth. And Jamie Fleming in sixth place. Travis Allen, David Dempasco, Brick Lawson, and Salvador Orlando round off your top 10. And for 11th place, it's Stephen Shade. Joshua D'Arlucio wasn't able to get past Shade in the final moments. He finishes in 12th. Drew Cooper in 13th, producing Breedlove. Dallas Barron, Benjamin Burrows, Brett Sturley, Vladislav Alatoids, Virgilio Garcia, and Trey Mango round off your top 20. And for the final couple of positions, Jimmy Evans finishes off the race finishes. Wayne Gardner retired late into the race. So did Manuel, Padilla, Brosius, Gutierrez, and Kronk, all retiring early. And the interview pen is open if we can get interviews from a few of our drivers here. Alberto Alvarez, welcome to the broadcast booth and the interview pen. You win here today. Well done to you. It definitely came. So I believe you started in second. It was Barron in pole position, but after Barron had to tow back into the pits, you inherited the race lead and led with comfortable fashion. Talk me through your race.
Hey guys, first of all, oh, what a good race. Glad to win another one. Definitely didn't expect it. I didn't think I had the pace, to be honest. But it was looking like it could be a good race. Like I was starting it was yo-yoing between me and the Lambo on the lap time. So I was like, oh, maybe we could have a race. And then I saw him stop. I was like, oh no. But well, I'll take the lead, and then from there and just managing the pace and trying to keep it clean and make no
Yeah,
mistakes.
so from our end, the Lamborghini looked to have a problem with its wheelbase because it darted to the left, so he had to tow back into the pit straight after. I believe that's what happened. We'll see if Darren can answer for that in the chats. But yeah, taking the win here today, you win for the second time in a row this season. Second time in a row since since a fortnight ago when you won at Le Mans. You're looking pretty comfortable in the leader drivers championship with 4 rounds left to go. Do you feel like you can continue your form?
Well, let's say 2 wins is the best place to be right now, but there is a drop round, so Darren will probably take this one as his drop round. So I need to pick up the pace, start practicing a little bit more. Otherwise, if he wins all the rest of them, I don't see my chances being that high. So, but you never know. Racing, like you saw today, like he probably had the pace, but issues happen. And I mean, take one race at a time. Let's see in a few weeks. What am I?
Oh, well, next week is interesting because it's not just one race, it's a 2 race event. It's 2 heats of 30 minutes for the Hockenheimring. Does that change your approach to the race at all? Because there will be 0 pit stops. It's going to be 2 sprint races, essentially, much shorter than we've had with the endurance races, quote unquote, with both Le Mans and Sebring.
Uh, so first of all, a bit of a correction. I think there is gonna be a pit stop mandatory in each of the races. Gonna have to double
Okay,
check.
that's
But
interesting. Okay.
yeah, those are not really my favorite. Like after I do one race, spend everything on one race, then the second one I usually don't do so good. Tough to get back into it. So, well, let's see what happens. How can I mind? I like it as a truck. I don't know how quick I'll be compared to the others, but um, hopefully the Mustang is good there. So
Oh, the Mustang in the fixed series is very good this week. Yeah, I've had a fair bit of go. Anyway, regardless, what would you like to say to the people in the virtual grandstands, people including MV Simsports and our partners here today? Who would you like to shout out to?
oh, John Cannon, the league owner, the one that puts it all together and let us race. And you guys for the awesome broadcast. I watched the Le Mans race the other day, and I mean that fired me up to for this one. And then before this one I watched the Europe one from this one, and I don't know about this last race, but the first three were like full on action the entire race. So yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we try our
Uh,
best.
and then I mean just come join us. The race have been pretty fun. So the more the better. And yep.
As Alvarez said, go to mvsimsports.com where you can join the Discord and be part of the GT Sprint series. It's completely free and you'll get a chance to race in a broadcasted event. It's great racing too, by the way. Have to mention that too. Thank you very much to Alberto Alvarez for joining us in the broadcast booth here today. Well done on the second win in a row in the Americas GT Sprint Series. And we'll see you next week, hopefully, for another win on your end. Regardless, that will be the end of today's broadcast. The GT Sprint Americas will move on to Hockenheim Ring for August 7th with two 30-minute races, Heat 1 and Heat 2. Then the week after is Road America, then Detroit, and then Daytona for the last half of the Americas leg. Powered by Triple Stint, thank you for supporting our endeavors here at MV Simsports and also the GT Sprint series in both Europe and Americas. Make sure to get some high quality gloves for questionable quality sim races at triplestint.com. And if you're looking for both a sim racing pedal set or socks, you can go to SimSwag Technologies. Quite an interesting pairing there. simswagtech.com. Have a look, check out, and explore your options. And that will be all from our end. My name is Jarvis Coyle. I've been your commentator, the main voice. Who Julian Marquez is our production, been pushing all the buttons, monitoring the cameras, and controlling the overlays. Eitan Bedezra is our executive producer here at HyPrix Studios. We've had quite a fair fun in this broadcast for both Europe and Americas. Thank you very much for joining us for another broadcast. We'll see you all next week, where the Germans will take over for the Hockenheim Ring. Thank you very much for today, and we'll see you all later.